Director of Paragon Trust Company and tax and private client practitioner, joins us to bring a common sense approach to money in a world of total insanity. Let's welcome Tony D'Angelo.
All right, every Tuesday, ladies and germs, we bring on one of the smartest cats that we know, and he digs deep, man. If he's in if you're in his sights, you're in trouble. But Tony D joins us as he does each and every Tuesday. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I am fine and proud to be among you guys.
Third world countries. We're going to dig into what we're becoming a third world country. Explain
that. Yeah, we started out, and good morning to all. We started out last week talking about, the two nonprofits and dark money and how everything works with that. And, apropos of that, on Tuesday night, the world exploded. So it dawned on me, with all of the inefficiencies kind of hitting in the face, we've now become really, we have all the trappings of a third world country. We have a dictator who rules by decree. We have massive unemployment. We have no real capitalism whatsoever. A bunch of state-supported capitalism, but really no real capitalism. We have fear-mongering. We have crumbling cities. We have a veneration of local athletes. Now, I love sports as much as the next guy, but one of the things that Russia would always do to get all the people off of communism is that night they'd show them Tretiak or Alexiev or Tarasov. Hey, that's great. It's great to be a Russian. There's oppressive taxation, and then there's sort of an ineffective parliament. That all kind of runs together. Now, it's interesting to note that third world countries often have periods of overthrow. Now, I'm speaking historically. You know what the event is, Lee Elci? Power outages. Internet outages. That's what people say. Hey, wait a minute. What the heck's going on here? But we have descended into that. Now, if you don't believe me, look out the window. I'm going to talk about a type of personality here. And I'm going to describe a person to you. He's charming. He's charismatic, he or she. Doesn't have a conscience, doesn't feel empathy, deceitful, disregards the law, reckless behavior, intense eye contact, blames others for everything, and there's a lot of lies and gaps in the story and moves from place to place. What type of a person or what person are you thinking about when I tell you that?
I
know, line forms to the right. It's your standard politician.
Yeah.
And then what I have given you is the textbook definition of a sociopath. Now, you're thinking, a sociopath is a killer. No. There are sociopathic killers, but sociopaths are people who are very charming, very manipulative and controlling without any real conscience. I mean, some of the famous sociopaths we've had, Bernie Madoff, the whole bilking of all the charities and all the investors. Michael Milliken, who really turned a big corner and contributed a lot to society, especially in prostate cancer. But it's the whole thing of this is what we've got. And all of these threads seem to come together and, into bad pun, perfect storm. Now we get to this week. We hear epic fail. We hear resignation. We hear how dare this happen. We hear we are going to do something, coming from the government. And the question I'm asking here is, who's we? Who's we, Kemosabe? Because the Eversource Corporation is a huge contributor to political parties, both sides. It's right there on Open Secrets. Just some of the figures. They're running to their PAC, their Political Action Committee, about $160,000 per year. Over the past in December of 2018, $100,000 went to the Democratic Party. Of that, 160 over the years, 165 have gone to Republicans, a lesser amount, and I think that's only because there's fewer local Republicans than Democrats. It's just you pay who's ever there. There's one gentleman by the name of Greg Butler. He was the former head of, I think it was I think it was Northeast Utilities back then, who is he is now a vice president for Eversource. He is a fervent contributor. I mean, he's almost like a, how could I put it? He's almost like a church tither. You know, somebody with a box of envelopes who gives the same amount every week. He gives to the legal limit. He gives consistently. Other people give as well. And Richard Blumenthal, who's yesterday crying for everybody's heart and soul and skull, and James Judge at $19 million a year should resign. Well, Mr. Blumenthal's taken $1.4 million by my count, at least, in PAC money. So it's like, you know, it's this thing of, I think I'm watching Casablanca, and Inspector Renaud is over there saying, I'm shocked, there is gambling. Right. Now, I'll leave you with this one thought, and then we can move on to the next one. Right-thinking states, of which we are not.
No.
Georgia, Mississippi, New Orleans, Louisiana, you know, the depths of the depths after Hurricane Katrina, they made it a criminal offense for politicians and utilities to have any sort of, you know, whatever you want to call it, cash arrangement whatsoever. They saw the need for power. They saw the need for infrastructure. They said, hey, if we're going to do anything serious here at all, if the investment's going to come, they're not going to come into a pay-to-play environment. That's where we're at, pal. Your ball.
Well, there's so many different layers to this. I mean,
you've only gotten started.
How do you actually prevent? I mean, how do you prevent it? I mean, is it the right-leaning states just not allowing it?
They're just not allowing it.
Not allowing it. That's the place to start. Because you know you can't really. Well, this could go in so many different areas too. I mean, I know we're talking about power right now and EverSource, and you know what's going on because that's in the news. But you know, what if tomorrow it's something else or something else? Like how much PAC money, how much money from these big corporations should we actually allow politicians to take?
Well, and that's the whole thing. You know, the PAC money and the dark money and the money going through nonprofits like Advanced CT, which is supposed to be quote unquote for charitable purposes. Put quotation marks around that. There ain't no clue as to what's happening there. Now, is it a violation of Internal Revenue Code if it's for quasi-political purposes? You name it. What would it take to find that out? It would take eons for even a small charity to actually get to it and audit it and drag it out. It would be incredible. But yeah, it would take a bunch of people saying, hey, this is silly. You know, we're now the laughingstock of the United States of America.
Maybe we should like flip it around the other way and actually like cheer these politicians who refuse money from certain organizations. Make that the lead story so that becomes maybe what people know, like et cetera. Like Congressman A decided not to take X amount of dollars from EverSource, or decided not to take money from Planned Parenthood, or decided not to take money from the tobacco companies, and make that what it's all about. Because I don't know, I feel like that has a lot more power than the other way around.
Well, I mean, right now I'd even settle for repentance. Hey, I took this much. It's time it goes back. We got to clean the house.
Right. I'm just talking about in a general sense.
I'm with you.
You know. All right. What else we got?
Well, put it this way. One of our several of our dear listeners asked, you know, well, what kind of information are we getting on PURA, the Public Utilities Regulating Authority? Lamont is so true to pattern. Whenever he picks a head of a place, he goes out and gets somebody from the outside, you know, Joseph Giletti, David Lehman, we're gonna change things. Did the same thing with this lady Marissa Gillett. She came up from Maryland. You know, again, you have an ingenue, but the other two people who are there, former legislators, you know, again, we're shocked that there's gambling going on in Casablanca. He also did that same thing, the ingenue thing, but it backfired on him with the Department of Health with Renee Coleman Mitchell. Now, some of the gems, we're looking for PURA to bring us out of the mess. Now, if you're up here where I am, you knew all about the gypsy moths and the trees that didn't get taken care of and all the branches hitting the wires and power going out and all that sort of thing. Not a word. EverSource has had huge PCB issues and huge pollution issues. The EPA has fined them. Not a word out of PURA. PURA actually green-lighted the power increase in 2017. That's documented. You can find it in the documents. And the other thing is, in October 17, they took improvement money and diverted it to the general fund. Hey, you know, it's where we live. Now, our governor has an executive order in March where he's saying, I have to suspend political contribution limits because we need money for PPE. Again, we're back to that pattern that we were talking about, the pattern of behavior in psychology. And we wash money over and over. And believe me, I am just hitting the tip of the iceberg.
I want to back up just for the next 90 seconds or so, the time we have left, because I want to go back to what you began with, which I think is incredibly fascinating, which is the state of Connecticut, falling back into a third world status. And you really aptly described it. I mean, what you brought to the table.
Got all the traps.
Yeah, all of it. So, I mean, what would it take to push us over the edge? Look what's going on in Chicago. Look what's going on in Portland. Look what's going on in New York. These are essentially cities in siege. They're under siege, though. I mean, how much would it take to do the same thing to Hartford, to do the same thing to a Bridgeport?
We've got a different breed of cat probably in those places, but not much. Even though I think the real revolt is going to come from people saying, "Hey, people like me. What the heck is happening here? And what are you doing about it?" And it's honestly not going to take very much.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of trappings of us falling, way backwards. I mean, we could catch ourselves before we do it, but... Well,
that's the thing that really breaks my heart. We can.
So, all right, listen, what do you got going on the rest of the week? Anything special?
Well, getting to normal things, whatever normal is, and, trying to figure out logistics where everything has been kind of busted around us. Thanks once again, government. I really appreciate it.
And one last thing on a somewhat positive note. You getting into baseball yet or no?
Started to a little bit. It's, put it this way. I mean, I guess it's like canned soup. It's something you can eat.
All right, Tony. Thank you, pal.
Take care.
All right, there you go.